Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world famous Wally Report.
That was tight.
Listen, guys, we're so back. This could be the hottest sode of all time. Like, of course, this is Ari Weiss, your marvelous host, and thank God we have Christopher back. The Divines have been rioting because
Mm,
you were off for a sode. So, listen, we got a young actor,
mm,
writer, musician superstar named Jake
mm.
Cannavale. Okay,
Damn right you
before we
do.
introduce you, Jake, you've been in such projects, just so everybody knows, Nurse Jackie,
Hell yeah.
Mandalorian,
Done.
The Offer. We're going to talk
Crushed it.
about all of those things. And he also happens to be a lead singer of a grindcore metal band called Vixen Maw. We're going to get into that. But
Hell
you're part,
yeah.
in my eyes, you're part of Hollywood's next wave of young talent. He's about to blow up. So we're very lucky to have you here today. So really quickly, Jake, just how are you doing, man? Thanks again for coming on.
Of course, man. I'm doing good right now. I'm very much alive. Little bit hungover. I was listening to the demos from the upcoming album last night. They're so goddamn good. So yeah, life's dope right now. I couldn't ask for a better way to
Okay,
spend my day.
this is fantastic. So we're so pumped to have you. We're gonna go through your whole, life and a lot of history of the different projects you've been in. So
Love it.
let's start it off. Let's start it off. And we didn't have to even tell you, Jake, but the way that we start this off is we all just go around the horn of just any hot topic. So we just quickly talk about something you're pumped on right now, something you hate right now. It can be a rant, or it can be anything. It doesn't need to be entertainment show related. I'll start off. Um, Again, I this keeps happening to me. I was going to talk about the New York Mets because we've been on another winning streak, and then they just screwed me big time over the past couple days. So I'm too
Fucking
pissed.
man.
It can't be my hot topic. Yeah, so they kind of pissed me off. So I'm just going to just completely pivot from my hot topic and
Dope.
just talk about how clean this shirt is.
It
Okay,
is
it's a
beautiful.
fly shirt.
It's fly as
It's a
hell.
great shirt.
You got I
Can
and
you
actually,
describe,
like
Ari, can you describe the shirt for us?
Yeah, I mean it's got a floral print. It's light blue.
it's like a nice
The
powder
here the
blue, yeah.
only Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. Now the only issue was I didn't get it in 4 different colors. And so when you scour the internet, Christopher, for more Banana Republics, it's like you can't get it. So it's sold out. I'll never get it again, and it's probably on its last couple good years is the only bummer. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
no,
So
it looks clean as hell, dude. It's only got a couple years left if that's the attitude you're gonna take about it. You can milk this till death, dude. It looks really good.
Well,
all right. So anyway,
let's also talk about how you're caring for it. I mean, are you hanging it to dry?
I can tell you're
And what
ironing
kind of
that bitch.
detergent are
There's
always
you
like no
using?
creases.
no, it's always dry cleaned. It's always dry
Nice.
cleaned. I
Nice.
don't have time for I'm not an iron guy. It's way too much work. I'm the hassle-free guy. It's dry cleaned. That's it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay, so that was mine, short and sweet. I was gonna go do this whole thing about the New York Mets, but they're pissing me off. Let's just go straight. We'll go to Christopher. We'll save Jake for last. What's your hot topic of the month?
Well, Ari, first of all, it's a delight to be back. As the listeners know, and as you alluded to, I was out last month, and I missed a wonderful episode. But I'm really thrilled to be here with Jake today, and you, of course. And I just wanted to actually use the opportunity to thank you and to thank the Wally Report as an organization for providing such tremendous work-life balance. One of the things that you talked about in your last episode was the 4-day work week. Well, when you work for the Wally Report, it's actually a 2-day work month.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
so you have 1 day of prep and then 1 day of recording every month, and that's it. And then the rest is it's unlimited paid time off. And so
That's pretty dope.
this is just it's an example. Ari and I used to work for a Danish company, and we would joke that they had, unreasonably generous benefits and sort of very skewed work-life balance. Well, this makes Denmark look like a very strict capitalist society, because the Wally report is really, really, really generous in terms of its employee latitude. So thank you for the time off. Thank you for the paid vacation. And this is just a plug for folks who want a future with the Wally report, because it is the most supportive employment environment that I've ever found myself in.
So just so you know, that might change. I've been too lax. Okay, and so as we go along, it might be more militant. I might be switching it up. The Ball Report might be a crap place to work. No, that's all good. So Jake, I know we put you on the spot. We didn't give you much warning for a hot topic. So anything, something that's awesome in life right now, something that's pissing you off, any little hot topic that's going on in your world, just to start off
Oh man. Well,
the show.
I've been so I've been reading, like many people in the world. I read One Piece, which is the longest running manga in history. I've been reading it since I was in 7th grade. And yeah, dude, like 25 years in, they finally jumped the shark a little bit. And I'm not hopping off it, but basically Jewelry Bonnie's devil fruit gave her the same powers as sun god Nika, and nobody really understands how that works. I'm on a group chat with like 13 other dudes. I've only met 2 of them. And it's just been a firestorm of theories and like angers toward Eiichiro Oda, the creator. But yeah, it's bullshit. Like with Luffy, we understood the Hito Hito no Mi was it wasn't actually a Gum Gum Paramecia, it was a mythical zone. Okay, obviously, cool. That makes so much
Wait.
sense. But then, like, Bonnie's shit was just sort of like an unexplained paramecia that involved aging powers. And now we're getting into like reality warping shit. And as we draw closer to what we assume is the inevitable war on Elbaf, we're realizing that like her devil fruit powers are like also might be mythical zone, because she can turn into a giant and she can get Nika powers. I don't know. Like, Oda does this shit all the time where he introduces insane concepts and then you just have to sort of bear with him for several years and then he explains it down the line. But like, we're getting close to what I assume is the final battle between the red-haired pirates, the straw hat pirates, and the Blackbeard pirates. And like, I'm ready for shit to converge. I don't want to pay attention to like Oda's very long drawn out explanation on how Jewelry Bonnie's powers work. So yeah, hot topic, but it
Wait,
needed
hold
to
on.
be said.
Hold on, hold on. I have no idea what are you even talking about? Like, what is this, like a fantasy book that you're reading? Like, what is even occurring right now?
So One Piece, which is a famous manga, Japanese comic book, it started in
Okay. Oh,
1998,
okay.
and it just broke its own Guinness World Record for the 3rd time. For most copies sold of any manga, I'm pretty sure. And then it also just became the longest running series ever. It's been going for like 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the beginning of this year, Eiichiro Oda, who's the creator, and he's been writing this since he was 17. Dude's like 50 now. He's been creating it since he was in high
Wow.
school. And he said at the beginning of this year, he said, like, public statement, we are now entering the final saga of One Piece. So after like 25 years, the fans are now, just doubling down on the lube, and we're holding on to it. And we're seeing so many new people who had heard of it or had dabbled in it or had been curious, like hop on the bandwagon and start from scratch. Um so yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, right
Okay.
now they're jumping the shark a little bit. And again, Oda always does an amazing job of giving us a good payoff when we hang in there. But like, I don't know about this one, dude. I don't know. So that's my hot take.
Okay,
Yeah, I
well,
don't like
maybe if
Jewelry
we, yeah,
Bonnie's
you could
powers.
have blessed our listeners with new stuff. So I like it. I like, because my hot topic was so light, so we needed something interesting here, because I got thrown off because I don't even want to look at the baseball score. This is awesome, dude. All right, so let's jump in now. Okay,
Let's
we're
do
gonna
it.
start. We're gonna do the whole backstory. Okay, I love the chronology. I love the history of stuff.
The
Other
lore.
podcasts, they go too quickly through stuff. I need to
No,
know
no,
the
no.
step by step. So
Slow burn.
so
Slow
just
burn.
set yeah. So let's say set the stage. Of course, this is a very interesting upbringing because you have famous parents, right? So
Indeed.
obviously your dad, who's going to be a big theme on this podcast, I'm a big fan of his, Bobby Cannavale. He's one of the superstars of Hollywood right now, I would say. And then your mom, who I've studied a lot more, Jenny, is it Lumet? Am I saying it right?
Lumet, yes, that's correct.
Got it. Okay, great. So she's also an actress, writer, producer, showrunner. So you basically grew up in this pretty wild Hollywood upbringing type setting, right?
Hmm.
So let's just go back to the beginning. So you're born in New York, right? And
Yes,
then
sir.
tell us what area and kind of what was going on there.
I mean, I grew up on the Upper West Side on 95th and Broadway. So one block south of when shit gets real, as they say. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I grew up in a, like, it was sort of the end of the first wave of gentrification of that neighborhood. So I grew up with a lot of Rite Aids and Starbuckses. But I also grew up with some amazing neighborhood spots that are no longer there. Rest in peace, Big Nick's. Well, Big Nick's is there, but it moved and it ain't the same no more. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was dope. It was New York. Like, the Upper West Side is a beautiful, amazing place. Very quiet. Um, Great place for people like me who are kind of loners. Uh, Great for pondering. Great for taking long walks by yourself. Um, Beautiful architecture, great parks. I mean,
Oh,
like,
there you go,
it was just
Christopher.
dope. It was dope. I mean, it gets a very boring it has a very boring reputation, which to a degree is true, but I love it, and I eventually want to move back there. Yeah, it was great.
Now,
So
can I
so
can I
real
interject
Oh,
here?
yes, yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to talk briefly about the Upper West Side. I mean, I could talk all day about the Upper West Side, but
Beautiful.
Jake, I need you to corroborate something that an argument I have maintained for a long time, which is generally, and we can start with the Upper West Side. The
Mhm.
Upper West Side I find to be superior in every way to the Upper East Side. Okay,
1000%.
architecturally,
It's not even
in
a debate.
but you
It's
can, but then my next argument is you could actually follow that all the way down Manhattan. The west side of Manhattan is in every way superior to the east side. The West
That's
Village
correct.
better than the East Village. Yeah, okay. So
That's
I
correct.
want to
Yeah.
make sure that Tribeca better than the Lower East Side. Like, I mean, if you just
Yeah,
look
I
at the
mean, like,
counterparts as you
the
move down the map,
that's the thing is, like, right now the Lower East Side is very cool. And my friends that are from the lower are fucking great. I love them. I love that neighborhood during the daytime. At night, I fucking hate it. Like, it's just full of the people that move to New York City to take instead of give, which I find infuriating. Also, I've had some of the greatest nights of my life down there, not gonna lie. The insanity's great. But I remember I was there with a friend of mine from Maryland. And he wanted to do things. He wanted to go to the Lower East Side, and he wanted to make videos for his TikTok and do the whole thing. And I was like, homie, like, that's the opposite of what I want to do. I go to one bar in my life and I stay there, and it's not in the Lower East Side. But we went, and it was so overstimulating, and I'm already a very easily overstimulated person. But, like, there's so many noises and people doing shit and walking around. And as I slowed down and just, like, actually observed, I realized that no one was actually having a good time. Like, there's fucking, dudes screaming and girls getting on fights with their boyfriend over the phone, and people yelling at their dealer for giving them the wrong address, and people getting thrown out of clubs. Like, everyone's sort of like holding each other emotionally hostage and just trying to be out the longest and make it look like they had a great time. Um yeah, it was weird. And the TikTok crowd has, like, really done an uproar in that fucking hood. I mean, it's not gonna go nowhere. The locals will always be running shit. They'll always know, like, what's actually good. But yeah, for me, I can't. I can't go into places that are popping. I just can't. I'm not. I can't handle it. I'm not that hard.
So before we jump all the way to contemporary New York, let's go. I got to segue back here. Okay, so you're now in this household. You have this aspiring actor father, right? Your
Indeed.
mom's also in the business. It's actually kind of interesting that they're both in New York and haven't already moved to LA at this point.
I
But
know.
which was one of my questions actually. Now looking back at this, why were they just in New York unless Bobby was in theater? But so let's go back to your first memories of, and we talked about this before recently, his first big gigs, and you being old enough to kind of, oh shit, like what's going on here with my dad? What kind of cool
Mhm.
job does he have?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I remember when he was panicking a lot for not having work. Like, even though we were always secure, like, financially, because of my mom and her dad. But yeah, Pop was like, I was running lines with him when I was, in shit pants. Like I remember helping him with auditions for like a one episode of Law and Order or some shit. Like
Mm.
his first big gig, he was a series regular for 2 seasons on like a crime cop firefighter soap opera kind of show called Third Watch. Um, that ended the second season finale. The big fucking bombshell was that my dad's character died. Like that was like the oh fuck
Uh,
season finale thing. Yeah. And it turns out, I remember he told me this years later that he requested it, even though he was on like a hit show, early 2000s. Um, he was feeling himself already get boxed in, so he asked to be killed off so he could have a graceful exit. Oh, and fun fact, he died to the
wow.
song "Only Time" by Enya. Beautiful fucking song. Um,
So yeah. So okay, so now you're like, okay, you're 10, 12 years old. When do you real and it was kind of not as the same as you because I had an actor uncle, as you know, from the last episode, Tate
yeah, yeah,
Donovan. So
yeah.
that was something that it was a hero of mine. I was always looking up to it. I kind of when I was younger. When did you kind of realize, okay, maybe I want to follow in the footsteps? And did you get blessing from the parents, or were they like, maybe just do a regular school and a regular gig and don't
Well,
get into this entertainment racket like that we're in? What was that
there's
like?
there's definitely that element to it of the don't do this because we know how whatever it can be. But honestly,
Hard it is, right?
yeah, but I feel like that's any industry though. Like if you do something long enough, if you have a passion or a career, you get to and you're good at it and you stick with it, you see the good and the bad. And of course, when caring for your child and thinking of their well-being, you're going to focus on the negatives and how sensitive your kid will be to them. Having said that though,
Yeah.
they didn't let the fear outweigh the logistics of it. So my dad's in show business, my mom's in show business, my grandparents were in show business, my great grandparents were in show business, and their parents, so
Wow.
I guess great greats, were the ones that introduced them to all this shit. So, it was I'm fourth generation or fifth generation in this bitch. So like they kind of
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was a little bit of a like oh cool like it's happening now so to speak, not a will he won't we just like oh
Okay.
cool like you're coming into it because again like you don't I grew up pretty sheltered and I didn't like in terms of like work so to speak, like I didn't understand what anybody else's parents did, you know and
Right.
you kind of when you're a kid you're just you follow the path that maybe isn't laid out but you're exposed to. Like I wasn't specifically told you're gonna be an actor, artist, creative, whatever the fuck, but I was growing up constantly running lines with my dad and watching films and doing all the things that would inevitably nudge somebody down a certain path, you know
That path. Wow, okay.
yeah.
I didn't know about the history from your mom's side. That's awesome. So it was almost like a done deal, which will
Yeah.
probably answer some of my questions of why you're such like so calm and so natural in your scenes. I will come back to that, but it's definitely something striking to me as I watch from a young actor being able to go up against these big time guys and just being like, "Hey, I'm just Jake of like calm and chill in these scenes." It's pretty impressive, I got to say, but
Oh,
we'll
thanks,
lead
man.
up to that. So what age now were you like, okay, did you do theater in high school? Did you do music stuff? Where did you start transitioning to like, all right, I want to fucking do this? What were the before the big first gigs, which I'm going to get to next? What were the first like steps that you're like, all right, let's make this happen?
Truth be told, the first, Nurse Jackie was my first big gig, but that was also my first gig, period. I did, yeah, I did Nurse Jackie before I did my high school play. So
Wow.
my only real acting experience was running lines with my dad and just watching a bunch of movies and shit and visualizing it in my head. And then when I was 16 or 15, my dad was on Nurse Jackie and I was running lines with him for the part of his son. And it was almost a bit. I was like, this would be hilarious if I played your kid because they hadn't casted him yet.
Wow.
And we kind of just riffed on it. And then eventually, I don't know which one of us said it first, but one of us proposed the idea of me auditioning. And then that happened. And then a year later,
So
I did my high school play.
wow. Okay. So you segued nicely into my next bit. So we'll just go right there. Because Nurse Jackie, obviously, first big gig, right? And
Mhm.
so for the listeners out there, here's the weird thing. I watched a little bit in the first season and somehow walked away, but it definitely was a big show. I couldn't believe it was on for 7 seasons.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. Showtime show. Edie Falco, who is obviously a mega star from Sopranos, she comes
Mhm.
over and she's a drug addicted nurse. It's actually quite a compelling storyline. Just so we're clear, I looked all this up too before the episode. You get 81% on the Rotten Tomatoes, which you know is
Let's
going to be a
go.
theme here, Jake. Then 81 tomato meter, 88 audience. I don't have a Wally Report score because I haven't watched it all yet, but it does get high scores. So if anybody wants to go back, they like to watch older shows, and that does pave the way. That's right in my golden period, Christopher. That does fit within that golden period era, right? So what I was actually, you already cleared up a couple questions that I had, right? So how did that? So you guys pitched because I saw your dad in it too. He's fantastic in it. I got to say, right? And
Mhm.
he's a doctor on the show. How? So you guys went to the showrunners, and then how did you audition for this role? How did you get that set up, and then you just nailed it?
Yeah, I did. I did an audition, and then I think I read for it twice, and then I did a final one in front of the show creators with Edie. That was
Wow.
yeah, that which was it was incredible, man. Like I remember walking in, and Edie is just a fucking badass, super genius, incredible, like sage like monk of acting. Like she's just a fucking beast. And I remember walking in and like I was expecting to like be like, oh my god, it's Edie Falco, like she's incredible, blah, blah, blah. But like she keeps her energy and her aura so calm, like, and that it was even more intimidating than if I had been like starstruck or whatever. Like I walked in, and I was like, "Oh, this woman knows who the fuck she is. She knows she's incredible." Yeah,
Mm.
she was. Yeah, to this day, one of the best actors I've had the honor and privilege of working with. I love that woman dearly. But yeah, so I read with her, and then yeah, we after that I got the call like maybe a week ago, and then for the
Wow.
second half of my junior or sophomore year of high school, I only had to go to school like 3 days a week. It was great. That
So,
was the
so
that,
that's
that was
my
the
next
best part
question.
of
So
it for me.
yeah, this is just for the listener, this is 2012. You're only 17 at this point, right? So
Yeah.
how pumped were you when this worked out? Were you guys like, "Holy shit, this is
Dude, I
amazing,"
was
and you and
fucking
Bobby doing high fives?
hell yeah. I
Or
was
were you
so
like
excited.
nervous? Were you nervous also? Like, "Oh god, I got to
No,
like act."
to be honest, once the audition is over, I'm just rock hard after that. Like I am all confidence. I'm like I got this hard part over. Like let's just
Mm.
fucking do the thing. Cuz like once you have the job, you're in, you know? Like getting the gig is 80% of this fucking business. So once I had it, I was like, word, what the fuck can y'all do for me? Like, let's fucking play, let's hang out, let's get it. Working with my dad was actually dope. Um, he because you know what, when you're a teenager, especially a teenage boy, like your dad is your dad. He's this looming, sort of omnipresent force. And I loved getting to know him on a different level, on a deeper level, as a coworker, as a professional, which is so crazy to see. Like when you see your parents killing it at their job, it explains so much of their parenting in a way. Um, so it was really cool. There was so much that I could witness about that I witnessed in him that explains some shit. And weirdly, I
Wow.
knew he was nervous, but he was actually like at that point in time, he was more chill with me as a co-actor than he was like as a dad, you know?
As a dad.
Yeah, because
Right.
like
Wow.
truth be told, he had been an actor longer than he had been a parent, you know? And so I think
Right.
not that he wasn't in his natural element as a father. He's an incredible dad. I love that dude. He's my homie. But like seeing him in the thing he was put on Christian God's green earth to do, you could just see the anxieties melt off of him. It was really awesome to witness and to work with.
Wow. So I did get to watch. I didn't watch the whole season, but because I've been studying a lot of your works here. But I did get the first couple episodes in. I thought you were great. You're again. This is what I mentioned earlier. You were just so calm and natural, and you're just Jake, and you're just like it's definitely And even
Thank
with
you.
Edie Falco, because you befriend her right away. Obviously, you're both in rehab, right?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to call that out. It's very impressive that you're a 17-year-old kid and you already have the chops to be like hanging with, your dad, your Edie Falco, all these big time actors on a hit show at the time too. It wasn't like some crappy Disney show you were going on. You know what I mean? Now, I also got to call out a couple other things. Love the green hair look, bro. So here's the thing.
Thank you.
Were you already rocking that because it was like your style because you're already a rocker kid in the making? Or did they have you develop the green hair for the
Oh
role?
no, I had the green hair before the audition. I and it was kind of dope because I remember thinking, well, actually, so I had the green hair like right before I even like Nurse Jackie even entered the conversation. I just wanted to have green hair. And then when the audition happened, for a split second, I thought, should I like, cut it off, go all natural again? But then I was like, I bet I'm the only dude with green hair auditioning for this part. And lo and
And
behold, I
it
was
worked
right.
so perfect.
Hell yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it worked so good.
it was great
And so
for
let me
that
ask you,
part, Charlie.
Was
No,
it a
continue.
Green Day homage to Green Day?
No, I
Because
think
it looked
I saw it. I think it was one of the dudes in Jackass 2 had green hair. And I remember thinking that shit looked really cool. And I was junior in high school. It was the beginning of junior year. And I was kind of a weird kid in that sense because like I wanted to stand out and I also simultaneously didn't want attention. It was a very weird paradox. Um, but yeah, I went in for that, and then I didn't even, other than American Idiot, I didn't actually even fuck with Green Day like that.
Yeah, I know you're kinda young for Dookie, you know what I mean? But I
Yeah,
thought
oh,
American
great
Idiot,
album, yeah.
I didn't know actually, I need to double check when American Idiot came out. I
I
was
think
always
that
a
was
little bit, it's not as I was
2004.
one Oh, okay, way or so
Yeah, yeah,
I was one of those annoying guys. I was like, "Oh, it's not as good as Dookie. Why is
of
everybody,"
course.
because I'm obviously old school. And then American
Damn
Idiot
right.
was a bit too pop, like top 40 for me.
Oh, dude, I
Although there
love
was
that
a couple
album. That
good
was my
tracks.
era, dude. That was my
Yeah,
Dookie.
yeah, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So last question on this, and again, I was going to ask about what working with your dad was like, but you already answered that. And again, we're big fans of him on the show, right? We all know that. We love Rose, we love Bobby, big
Hell
time,
yeah.
huge fans on the Wally Report. Interesting question for the sport fanatics that might be listening in.
Mhm.
I also noticed that all of a sudden Carmelo Anthony was just on the show. Was like, I know
Fuck
you're not like
yeah.
a huge
Dude,
you're not like a
I
big basketball fan, probably. What was like working with Carmelo? Was he also nervous because he's a basketball player and not a actor?
dude,
And was this like,
Mello Mello was actually like kind of my favorite dude on set. So, Ari, we know each other. Like, I don't give two flying fucks about sports. None of it interests me. Not a single game interests me. I have fallen asleep courtside at fucking Knicks games. I do not give a fuck about any sport. Um, but I think Mello picked up on that because he loved me. I was like the only dude on that set he wanted to hang out with. We were just like showing each other videos on like, YouTube and shit. Like we were just palling around like cuz again, like I think he knew that I didn't know who he was. And I cuz I didn't.
You're
Like
right.
people were like I remember like PAs were freaking out. He was like, "Dude, it's Mello." And I'm like, "I don't know who that is. He's just a dude I'm in a scene with." But he was super cool. He was mad funny. He ad-libbed with me a couple times, man. He was really cool. I obviously have not seen him since then. But yeah, whenever,
Yeah.
he does something, I'm like, "Oh shit, it's that guy from Nurse Jackie." He was cool. He was really nice.
Nice. So, okay, amazing first thing. Let's segue into the next bit here, right? And I know Christopher's got some questions on this one, especially. We're going to segue to theater because we know you're a theater bro, also.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
Now, we got to hear more about this, and I'm sure Christopher has some questions on this too. Let's segue to 2015. We're moved 3 years now in the history. Fish in the Dark, written by Larry David. What the fuck? Okay, so first of all, a couple questions on. I had no idea this existed. Okay, this opened so many questions for me. Before we get in, did Larry David write this, and what happened? Like, how did you land this gig? Was it just another like standard
Mhm.
audition
Mhm.
thing, or was it
Yeah, it was
connections? Like,
pretty
how
it
did
was
and what?
it was like pretty standard. I had only done one play prior, or two plays. I had done my high school play and I did a play at the Cherry Lane Theater. And I got the audition and I went in and like nobody doesn't know Larry David, like, but I was never a huge Curb or Seinfeld guy. Like when it was on, loved it, laughed my ass off. But I never like put it on. I was never like a freak about it, like some people are. Um, but I just knew the homie was funny, and I went into the audition
Yes.
and I did one scene with Larry, and I remember I made his ass laugh. That was when it happened.
Oh,
Like
really?
I made his ass laugh, and the thing about Larry David,
Wow.
and maybe it's a Larry David thing, and maybe it's just like a comedy legend thing, but like he laughed in a way that he wanted me to knew I made him laugh, if that makes sense. And I know it sounds kind of conceited,
Wow.
but I remember he laughed like he wanted the room to know that he was finding something funny. And it was
That's amazing.
it was dope, yeah. Because again, nobody you don't not know Larry David. The man he's the greatest. So like when that happened, I was like, oh fuck, I think I got this. um, and then I did, and then I did the play, and it was magnificent. And then fun fact, so I remember I still to this day I barely use deodorant. I just don't like it. But I remember, so my dressing room was on the top floor of the Court Theater, and like 3 weeks into shows, in like it was like right after tech actually. Larry David walked his fucking scrawny Ichabod Crane ass up these 5 flights of stairs, and he goes, "Jakey, baby, I gotta talk to you." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, what's up, Larry? What's going on?" He's just like, "Jakey, you gotta wear deodorant, Jake. You gotta. You're great. You're funny. You're handsome. You gotta wear deodorant. Like I can just tell, Jake. I'm telling you. What do I gotta do? I don't want to have to put the understudy, the handsome guy with the muscles. I don't want to put him in, Jake. Please, please, just wear deodorant." And I was like, all right, fuck. All right. So it was like
Wow.
Larry David
This is a
almost fired me after getting the job because I stunk. So I was like, all right, I gotta do something about that. But yeah, after that we were gold, smooth sailing.
Wow. Christopher, I'll let you jump in because I know you have some play questions. My last question here is like, how involved was he? He wrote the whole thing. Was he there? Like the creative
Yeah,
force to this whole
he,
play?
you
Was it
know,
hilarious? Like I never even heard of it. I like it.
it was funny as hell, and that whole cast was, I mean, it was all professional ass actors. Like I definitely was the runt of that litter, so to speak, in terms of experience. But yeah, Larry wrote it, and then him and Anna Shapiro, who is a god tier director. She it was kind of like a match made in heaven. She knew exactly how to take a master of his craft, which Larry David is, and help him translate it into a medium because he's never done theater before. It was his first play. And Anna
Wow.
Shapiro, I don't know if you know her resume, but she is just again, she's a god tier. She knows what good theater looks like. She knows how to make it happen naturally and makes it look effortless, even though she's working her ass off. So yeah, he wrote it and he's got the comedy genius mind, but that can't be everything. Anna absolutely was the secret sauce that made that play come to fruition. Um
So I think you read Christopher's mind because I know he had questions on this director. Christopher, I'll cue you in, right? Because I think you wanted to ask about Miss Shapiro.
Yeah, well, I mean, first, there's so many things I want to talk about, and
Please.
it's what's interesting is you bring up deodorant. That was actually going to be my rant, but then I didn't want to get overly personal. But I actually I used to wear ladies' deodorant, or what a deodorant that is marketed toward women, right? It's
There
a
you go.
powder fresh scent.
Love that. Love that for
Because
you.
I like the powder fresh. But I've just switched. Yeah, thank you. I've just switched to an all natural deodorant, and it's really because everyone says, well, you shouldn't expose yourself to aluminum and whatever, and I'm
Blah
probably
blah
like the
blah.
damage is probably already done, right? But so anyway, so I just switched to an all natural deodorant. It's really I'm not loving it. So it's interesting to hear that you've adopted an approach in life, and I don't really kind of know where you are right now in your deodorant
I
journey, but
use
you've
every
adopted
now and then
approach.
I'll use an unscented odor blocker.
Okay,
But that's
okay,
it.
okay,
That's it. And I'm not one of those
okay.
fucking like weird hippie health nuts that's like, oh, you shouldn't use deodorant because it has whatever. Like, I just don't like the fucking way it smells, and I don't like anything fucking with me and my musk. That's it.
Got it. Understood. Understood. Well, that's and I admire that. I don't know that my wife would love where I to take that approach, but it's definitely something to take into consideration because I am at a crossroads here
There you
with
go. I know
respect to deodorant. All right.
big
The next
decisions
thing I
coming
want to
up,
talk about.
Christopher.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is serious stuff. So the next thing I want to talk about, and thank you also. I had said I didn't want to bring that up in my rant because I didn't want to get overly personal, but these are important things, and
Very much so.
uh,
Very much so.
I guess it's okay. It's okay to go on the air and say I used to wear women's deodorant, and that's what I've just done.
Dude, say it
Now,
louder for the people in the back, dude. Hell yeah.
exactly, exactly. Now, the next thing I want to talk about very quickly is Cherry Lane Theater. All right, so Ari, you might remember 2 months ago, I talked about Village Cigars, which is on the corner
Oh,
of Christopher Street and 7th Avenue South. Just went out of business. Jake, I'm sure you know Village Cigars.
I did hear it went out of
Iconic.
business, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it went out of business.
Fuck.
The
Man.
signage is endangered. I actually recently designed a Greenwich Village Lego set that
Fuck
features
yeah, dude.
landmarks. That features historic landmarks in
Oh,
Greenwich
that's
Village,
fire.
including Village Cigars and the Christopher Street Station. And I commissioned a type designer to recreate the Village Cigars signage. Now,
Beautiful.
what doesn't appear on this set, because I wanted to keep the piece count
Is
limited,
the
but what
Washington
was
Square
going to
Arch. Hell yeah.
yeah, Washington Square Arch is here. You've got the Row, Washington Square North. You have McDougal Alley. You
Damn
have
right.
Jefferson Market Library. You have the Stonewall Inn, and then you
Beautiful.
have Village Cigars.
Oh
What
my
was
God.
going to be right here, and I have it built, but it just didn't make its way into the set, is the Cherry Lane Theater. So the Cherry Lane Theater, Ari, is New York's oldest continually running off-Broadway theater. It opened in 1923 by a series of playwrights and poets, including Edna St. Vincent Millay, who lived in a nearby row house, 75 and a half Bedford Street, which is known as the skinniest row house in New York
Mm-hmm.
City.
Mm-hmm.
Storied history, the Cherry Lane Theater, an amazing place. And so the the fact that Jake had the opportunity, and you didn't even mention what show you were in at the Cherry Lane Theater, but just knowing that you had an opportunity to perform there is, I mean,
Yeah,
that in and of itself
I
is.
remember that was my very first play. Second, the first one I did was in my high school, but my senior year, I remember we all had to do a senior project. So for the second half of senior year, the seniors are never in school pretty much. Like you come in once a week to report to your counselor, your teacher, whatever, um, to like give them updates on your thing. But I remember like right before we had to pick a project, I got this part in a play called Basilica by Mando Alvarado, and and the timing worked out perfectly. And I remember it was very much like a sort of like micro patriotism, so to speak. And by micro patriotism, I mean it like I felt like I was truly a New Yorker because again, the Cherry Lane, oldest running theater in New York, and it's just that's where actors go to become better. And I knew of the history and the reputation, so the fact that I had landed that was beyond humbling. I was like, oh fuck, like it was. It told me that not only was I good, but it also told me that I had such a huge way to go still, if that makes sense. Which I think any good artistic endeavor should make you feel like that. It should make your soul sweat a little bit. But yeah, it was great. And I was working with um two actors that I already knew because I was kind of raised by the New York theater community. It's very incestuous. No one's more than a degree or two of separation away. And two members of the Labyrinth Theater Company, Felix Solis and Rosal Margarita Colon Rolon, two amazing actors in their own right. You guys might know Felix. I know Ari, you're a TV guy. He was, I forget his name because I hadn't seen it in a while, but he was the head of the cartel in Ozark. Um, he's a
Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
of
yeah.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's a beast of an
He was
actor.
pretty awesome.
And he was
Yeah.
playing my dad, and I knew that dude from like around, and he was like, I knew he was just a force. Like that dude fucking loves acting. Like there's no casual shit about him. He's just he goes in. He rode my ass. He like fucked with me a little bit. It was intimidating, dude. But yeah, he wanted the best for me and from me, and he was very good at extracting what needed to come out. Um, yeah, that was my senior year, you know? It was crazy. I was working with this incredible cast, um, doing a beautiful play. And also, I mean, you know, the theater is how you become a better actor. It's not a matter of opinion, it's simply fact. If you do theater, you will be better at your job. So yeah, I was stoked to be doing the work. And it was a bit of a bitch cuz like, you know, with all that repetition, tiny ass play, like it kind of feels like every day is leg day, so to speak. But like
Mm.
at times, but it was soul nourishing. It really was. I just did theater again for the first time since Fish in the Dark a couple months ago. We can get into that. But yes, definitely popping my cherry at the Cherry Lane was something I am eternally grateful for.
I love it, and you're right. You're part of a New York City tradition. Now, quickly, I want to just chime in about Anna D. Shapiro. So, I mean, I am a huge Anna D. Shapiro fan. I used to live in Chicago,
Hell yeah.
and I saw some of the earliest plays that Anna D. Shapiro directed at Steppenwolf before she even became a Steppenwolf ensemble member. So she
Damn.
directed a handful of Bruce Norris plays. She directed a handful of Tracy Letts. Some of his earlier plays before August Osage County. Obviously, she directed August Osage County, which I think I saw
Yes.
3 times at
Jesus,
I
yeah.
saw it twice at Steppenwolf and once on Broadway. She directed a production of Glengarry Glen Ross that I maintain is the absolute best
That's a
production
perfect
of
fucking
Glengarry
play
Glen
for
Ross
her.
that I've.
That is a perfect
Yeah,
fucking play
yeah.
for her.
She and I also saw her direct this play called The Drawer Boy with John Mahoney, and Frank Galati, who was a famous director, and it was the first time that Frank Galati had taken the stage in 17 years. So Tony Award-winning
Jesus
director goes back
Christ.
to the stage 17 years later, but will only do it under Anna D. Shapiro's direction, right?
Yeah,
So that
damn
just
right.
gives you a sense of, yeah, that gives you a sense of how skilled she is. And I've also seen her take plays that are new and plays that are in
Mhm.
development and really massage them and help bring them to life.
Yeah, dude.
And
She did.
so,
I mean,
you know, when I saw that you had worked with her, I was maybe even more impressed than the Cherry Lane Theater, because she's something else. God tier is the term that
yeah.
you use to
Yeah,
describe
no,
her, and that's absolutely right.
she is a master theater director. Genuine master.
Yep.
Yeah, and dude, they like
Wow.
Fish in the Dark too. That was like a cast of like 20. And she
Mm.
still, like, I never once throughout that entire process felt that I didn't have enough time with her, that she wasn't completely dedicated to me. Like, I felt that it was just me in the cast, and she was working with like 20 fucking actors. She's incredible.
Okay, gentlemen, I love the theater talk, but we got to move on to a major hot topic now. Okay,
Love
we're
it.
going to jump. We're going to jump to 2019. Okay, 4 years
Let's
now
do it.
down the Jake Cannavale history path, and we're going to come to the Mandalorian. Okay, so
Hell
not
yeah.
only yeah, not only am I a
Let's
Star Wars fan,
go.
I'm also a big Mandalorian fan. All the listeners should know this. Let's just talk about this. So we'll get into it. You're in season 1, episode 5. Now,
Yes.
obviously on Disney Plus. For people that don't know, I don't know who the heck wouldn't know at this point that it's on Disney Plus, but there might be some people out there. So I'm trying to be, nice to them. 90% on the tomato meter.
Let's
Okay,
go.
78% on the audience score, so I'm kind of surprised it's a little low.
Little
Right
low.
now,
Yeah.
of the
You're big
official
on that.
official Wally Report score for The Mandalorian is at 84%, which means it's certified hot. Okay, anything over 75 on the Wally Report gets a certified hot badge. Which, Christopher, by the way, you still need to make that icon for me, because this is very serious. So
Thank you for
this
the
is a hot
reminder.
show. This is a hot show. I didn't love the third season as much, but season 1 and 2 were amazing.
So
And
good.
it was
Dude,
just
the
so
season 2
revolutionary.
finale. Holy shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so great. And I mean, it just brought Star Wars back for like the original fans like me, that needed something new after the last trilogy. It was kind of stale for a while. What do we do? And then Favreau shows up and just blasts us. So hold on, before we
Dude,
we got to unpack a lot of things here.
let's
You can
do
see
it.
I'm
Let's
jacked up
do it. I
about this.
love talking about The
So first,
Mandalorian.
yeah, so first, okay, I'm going to rattle off some questions here. First is just back to the audition. Standard audition that you just somehow floored them and got
Oh,
in? Like, how the heck did
hell
you get into
no.
this show?
My guy, that was
Oh, okay.
offer. I was offered that shit, dude. It was the best fucking
Wow.
phone call of
Okay.
my life. Yeah, I
Wow.
remember. So I got a phone call. I had just left a dinner with my agent at the time and manager, and I was a little tipsy, and I was going to a bar to meet my dad and his friends, a bunch of my uncles. And as I was like happy walking, feeling so good about being with my team, I get a phone call from my agent who I just left and said, John Favreau wants to give you this role. They're making a TV show about a Star Wars character. And I immediately was like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, they're making a show called The Mandalorian. And I was immediately, the first words out of my mouth, I'll never forget this. I was, wait. Is it about Boba Fett, or is it about another Mandalorian who's a new character in the Star
Mm.
Wars canon? And she said, it's a new Mandalorian. And I was like, that's badass. Does he wear the Boba Fett armor? And she goes, I don't know. I am not a Star Wars fan. And I was like, tell them yes, I'm absolutely doing it. So and they were like, okay, but Jake, it's top secret, blah, blah, can't tell nobody, because, George Lucas, as soon as you get an offer from George Lucas, he's got like drones following you and shit. But I
Wow.
really loved Star Wars and was walking to a bar to meet a bunch of actors. So immediately I stood up at the bar and I was like, I got a fucking Star Wars gig. And I told everyone, and it was sick. And then I went home. So
Wow.
my roommate, who's also my roommate at the time, who's also my best oldest friend, he's my brother. And we grew up. We're the prequel generation. So we went to the opening day, all 3 prequels. Like, Star Wars is our shit. And when I told him, yeah, we had our own party. It was amazing.
So you answered my next question of being, were you a Star Wars fan, which you've already answered, right? And I'm of course, we're not old enough to be the real original Star Wars generation, but Christopher
No,
and I at least grew up with the originals as we're kids. And then of course, then I saw all the prequels and then the last three, right? So we're big Star Wars in the household.
hell
Now,
yeah.
so you didn't even know how big the show obviously was, because you that was my next question. Did you know how big it was? But it hadn't really blown up yet because you
No,
were
but
cast so early on.
I'm gonna tell you a very funny foreshadowing story. Um, so I remember when I went to LA, which where well, we didn't shoot in LA, we shot in Tatooine, obviously. But when I was in LA shooting, I remember John Favreau and Dave Filoni offered to or invited me to come to the set like one day before I was supposed to, just to like meet everybody and see how shit works and ask Star Wars questions, which was unbelievably generous, and I think back on that invitation very highly. Um, but I remember I showed up and a little jet lagged, and I was just thinking of like Star Wars questions to ask, and they just anything I fucking asked, they just handled it. They answered my shit. And then I'll never forget this. Favreau goes, "So you want to see like the big thing, like the big secret about Mandalorian?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, what is it?" And he leads me into like a room in the special effects thing. It's just the two of us, no assistants, no nothing. And he opens, it's like an Ocean's 11 style fucking like vault box. And he opens it, and there's Baby Yoda, which at the time,
Wow,
no, we were still shooting season one, so no, this was before Baby Yoda took over America, right? And I was like
the
it hit me. I was
world.
like, "Oh fuck, dude!" And John Favreau goes, "Yeah, this is we're making sure this is the one thing that we can't have leak." He was like, "This is the one thing we're keeping hidden from everybody." And I was like,
That's unbelievable, dude. You're
"Yeah,
killing me right now with the story.
dude." And so I was immediately like, is it my first question, because as all true Star Wars fans know, we don't even know the name of Yoda's species. On Wikipedia, Yoda is listed as Yoda species. So my first question
Mm,
was, is this character like related to Yoda, or is he just another member of the Yoda species? And I remember John said, "Come on, Jake, you know I can't tell you that." I was like, "You're right. Forgive me, Mr. Favreau. I'm so sorry. I'm not worthy." Um,
so
but yeah,
so
dude,
you answered my next So sorry, yeah, you answered my next question already because I wanted a great. I'm a huge John Favreau fan, obviously from back in Swingers. I know you're a bit young. If
of
you've never
course.
seen
Oh, I've seen
Swingers,
Swingers. Hell yeah.
throw it on the list. Okay, okay. So, and I listened to him on a podcast, and he was one of my I think my favorite interviews. He's so smart, he's brilliant, and just coming from just being an actor and like in the likes of Swingers to moving up to being able to do all these unbelievable movies. So that's a fantastic story. So I rewatched the episode. And I gotta say, dude, you're so good. Like
Oh,
I
thanks, man.
love the character. Toro Calican is the name. For people that don't know, he's the young bounty hunter in episode 5. And just like same thing I mentioned earlier, just the very Jake Cannavale way. You're very natural. You're very confident. I mean, Paige, the Mandalorian walks in and you're already kind of talking to him from the bar, like, "Hey, Mando, what's up?" You're already kind of trying to run the show. You have to
Hell
act
yeah.
like, I was just so impressed, right? So really quickly, before we move on to my next question about Pedro and the suit, did you
Uh-huh.
like you and Bobby are just you both have this like relaxed, confident New York, a tough like. Do you think it's just passed down with the genetics? Like, how did you inherit just such this calm, cool, collected style?
You flatter me. First off, I am confidence is just a shorter word for really good at hiding the fact that you're shitting your pants constantly. But
Right?
I don't really, and I'm trying to tread lightly with my words here, but
Yeah.
acting is like all art forms, but I think with acting specifically, it hits a little more so. You have to simultaneously not give a fuck while giving a million tiny little fucks. Um, And
Right.
a lot of it is a balancing act, and you kind of have to just decide when to not give a fuck. And when you're a young actor starting out, it's very easy to not give a fuck, especially if it's something that ended up in through genetics and nepotism and early exposure. Like, it it was such a huge, like, omnipresent part of my life from such a foundational age that there wasn't really a beast to look at or observe. It was always sort of like infused with the DNA. So I had that very particular advantage. Um but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, as for the confidence shit, dude, like, I'm a goddamn metal front man. Like, I cannot be meek. I
Right.
cannot be timid. I cannot
Right.
be self-conscious. And I carry that energy um into any job I have, be it acting, be it working at a restaurant, whatever the fuck it is I'm doing, I carry that front man energy because that's my North
Yeah,
Star,
no, no, that makes sense. I mean, I just wanted to let you know it's noticeable. Okay, so now as we go along,
Thank
here's
you.
probably a question you get all the time, right?
Hit me.
Let's segue back to the scene. Is Pedro in the fucking suit? Because if he's
Okay.
not, is he do all the
Ari,
does he do
god
the
damn it.
voiceover late?
All right, okay, here's the thing,
Are
all
you
right? Here's the thing, and I genuinely do not know if I am legally allowed to tell you what I'm about to tell you,
right?
but I don't give a
Okay.
fuck, so I'm gonna tell you anyway. I have never met Pedro Pascal. I've never met him once in my life.
Mm.
Um, the man in the suit is one of the, to put it bluntly, one of the coolest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life. So I'm gonna tell you all a story. Um, John Favreau, when he was given the Mandalorian to raise and turn into an awesome thing, he was reading the scripts and he told me this. He wanted it to be a western. He said the style of the Mandalorian.
Mm.
This is a western. Yes, there's spaceships and guns, but it is. It's a western. It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or whatever the fuck. So he said that he knew he needed a genuine cowboy. The man in the suit, who I worked with, coolest dude ever. His name is Brendan Wayne, and he is John Wayne's grandson. He is a
Wow.
Wow.
professional cowboy. He literally is a fucking horse wrangler, professional stuntman. He's been on the set of every western in the past 20 years, giving notes to make it authentic, telling them what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. He is the, like, cowboy of Hollywood. And he fucking loves it. And he's the coolest goddamn dude. And that's the guy who's in the suit. That's who I had every scene with.
Wow.
And yeah, and he knew.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
but here's my follow-up question then. How the hell, and I know I listened to Pedro Pascal on Smartless, I believe, and he talked about this too. So I think he did say that most of it was voiceover and he's not always in the suit. So it's not like you were giving a I just love to ask about that. Now, here's the thing though.
Hit me.
If you're in the scene, how are you acting? Right? Because if is someone else saying the lines to
No,
you
dude,
and then
here's the
they
thing.
edit it like in
Brendan is such a goddamn professional. He's off book. He learns all his lines anyway. He knows that he's not going to have a single word in, and at the final
so
product, he's going
he's
to be voiceovered. But he's a goddamn professional. He's going to learn his parts. He's going to show up, and he's going to be an amazing scene partner. I never once
okay,
got
so he said
any. Yeah, I never once got any half-ass energy from him. Rather, he doesn't even. He could have, by all means, just like had someone else read the lines, or he could just read them without acting. But no, that motherfucker loves his job. He is in there giving me everything I could possibly need to work with as a scene partner. Got nothing but love for that dude. He's one of my homies.
okay, so what you're saying is he delivers the lines. They then
Oh
in
yeah,
post edit it out and put Pedro's voice.
that's correct.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, see this is some good this is going to be what a hot episode this is going to be for the Star Wars nerds out there. This is so sick. Okay. So, now let's go to the scene where you're in the speeders,
Oh my
right? I
god.
know it's all CGI cuz Favreau's a beast, but here I just need to understand, is this at least like, are you at least in a desert somewhere? That's like, that can't all be CGI, you lying
So
in the sand dunes,
so the
right?
lying
Or
in
is
the
it all
sand
green
dunes
screen?
during the day, during the Tatooine scenes of the day, I am in a giant warehouse empty lot studio full of sand. And then everything else, like the mountains, the sky,
Wow.
that's all CGI. But the speeder and the sand are real. It was like a fucking 20-foot mountain of sand that they got because it's Star Wars and they get whatever the fuck they want. But yeah, actually, so fun story. My
Yeah.
first day on set, the first scene we shot was us. We're like chilling on the sand heap, and Mando is asleep, or I think he is, and we're next to the speeder. And I remember I get on set and already met Brendan, coolest dude. We're already homies, and we like as everybody's getting set up, Brendan just goes, "Yo, wait, hold up, Jake hasn't done the thing yet." I'm like, "What?" And I hear Dave Filoni goes, "Oh, what? Jake, do the thing." I'm like, "What is everyone talking about? Like, am I being roasted? What's happening?" And Brandon goes, "Jake, come on, man, just do the thing. I know you want to. I know you. I did it. Filoni did it. We're all Star Wars kids. Just do the thing." And he's like, sort of like nudging over to the speeder, and I just sort of look at him, and I'm like, "Okay." Didn't even say anything, and I did the thing. I got on the speeder, and for a few seconds, I just went.
Right.
Then I got off, and Brandon goes, "Feel good?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, we can do the scene now." I'm like, "Dope, sick." Okay, got that out of the way. Got to fool around with the speeder. We're so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
the next question too is about the fight scene with that bounty with the assassin that you guys
Yeah.
are trying to get. Was that all a stunt double, or were you
No,
actually in that fight scene?
oh,
Because
I
it was
was
actually
in.
really impressive. I was like, holy crap.
Thank you. It was half me, half a stunt double. So yeah, I was working with Ming Na Wen, who played Fennec Shand. Amazing,
Yeah.
lovely ass human. And her stunt double, whose name is also Ming. And Filoni fucking told her to actually hit me, which I did not know. And me being a dude with an ego, after the takes, Filoni would be like, "So you all right, G?" And I'm like, "No, yeah, I'm fine, it's all good." He goes, "Oh, really?" Because I told her to actually hit you, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm totally good, totally fine, didn't hurt at all." The only the two times I remember when they used a stunt double for me was when I like get flipped and I do a backflip, couldn't do that, and
Exact.
when I get
That's
shot
what
at
I
the end and
thought.
I fall
Yeah.
off the thing. Yeah.
Right. So speaking of Filoni, last question on Mandalorian,
All
then we'll
good.
move it on to the next big one, just for the sake of time. But I told you I wanted to unpack this one deeply because it's such a hot show.
Hmm.
You mentioned Dave Filoni. I didn't actually know who this guy was, so when we talked the other day, I had to look him up. Obviously, Favreau, the original sort of creator here, but
Hmm.
I looked. Filoni directed and wrote this episode you're in, and he's a
Yes.
big time player in Lucasfilm. So I want to know: can you
Filoni.
tell the audience who is this guy and what kind of creative control did he have with Lucasfilm / Mandalorian?
Filoni. So first off, love that man to death. Super cool dude. God, I'm getting so nostalgic. Thank you for like getting me to talk about this because that
Yeah.
was genuinely like some of the
Yeah.
best. That was the best 2 weeks of my fucking life shooting that show. So Filoni, to put it in simple layman's terms, Filoni is the dude that George Lucas passed the torch to. He's Mr.
Mm,
Star Wars. He wrote
got it.
he was the big dick in charge of the Clone Wars series, which any Star Wars fans knows is canon and is brilliant. He was in charge of
I've
Bad
seen a bunch
Batch,
of it. Yeah.
and yeah, he's the dude. He is the one carrying us into through this new era of Star Wars, and he's killing it. Um, but yeah, I was so excited because I didn't know that if he was going to be on every episode or if it was just mine. And when I found out it was just me, I was like, "Oh fuck, like, let's go, awesome!" I really got the best treatment I could have. I got Favreau and I got Filoni on set every day. It was sick. Yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. That's unbelievable. So anyway, I'm a huge fan, just super
Mhm.
pumped. The only bummer is that, of course, your character, not spoilers, but you already kind of brought it up. You get popped so that they can't bring you back. Cause I actually really liked your Keller. I was like, damn it.
I
You could have been
appreciate
like
it.
Mandalorian's new sidekick cousin,
Something,
that he's
right?
bringing in on adventures. But you had to cross them though. I didn't like how you crossed
That's
them. I
it.
did
I
love how
know.
though, when I rewatched it, I didn't remember what happened with you and the assassin, and I loved how you at least didn't get outsmarted by her. I was like, yes, Jake, let's go.
I
And then
know.
of
Still
course you
got
made
popped
one.
though.
You got too greedy. So all right, let's shift now. 2 years or 3 years later, 2022. Okay, we're run the whole gamut of your
Hit
history
me.
here.
Let's do it.
Okay, The Offer, baby, The Offer.
Hell yeah.
So
Oh, so good.
this was this was a show, Paramount Plus. Now, this is where we're going to argue about the tomatoes, okay? Because you know I'm a tomatoes guy, even though I have said, and I'm going to publicly shame the tomatoes today on the Wally Report, okay?
Do it.
And I even rewatched the first 2 episodes last night of this just to make sure I was steadfast in my negative tomatoes statements now.
Mhm.
Okay, so this, of course, is a show about the making of The Godfather, the behind the scenes, right?
Yes.
We'll get into Dexter in a little bit. Of course, as a director on the first couple episodes, he's our boy. It only got 57% on the tomato meter, but which I think is BS. Now, here's the cool thing: the audience score, though, on Rotten Tomatoes is 96%. So
Hell
they're
yeah.
backing me.
Damn
Right
right.
now, I don't have I don't have an official Wally Report score because I need to rewatch the whole series before I go next month when I might have Dexter on here. I'm going to officially. It's hovering high 70s, 80s. It's into the 80s. So screw Rotten Tomatoes. Now, and
Screw
so
him.
and let's just set the state. Yeah. Here's the thing. They're only 70, 80% right. I just go by it because I'm really busy. Actually, Jake, what was the claim that you made earlier about the tomatoes? You want to make a proclamation here about how you
Oh yeah,
feel?
yeah. I mean, just fuck them. I mean, they have a stupid ass name, and we're all listening to them for like advice about what movies we collectively decide are good. No, fuck that. Rotten Tomatoes can suck my dick. I don't care what ramifications that has on my career.
Okay, good. So I love this because a lot of actors, I'm sure, feel that way, or writers or showrunners, because they probably come out with what is great stuff, and the next thing, if it's below a 70, everybody else runs for the hills,
Dude,
including me,
I'm
which I need to
I'm
stop.
I'm fucking old school. If I see a trailer and it looks good, I'm gonna go see it. And does that mean I'm gonna see a
Right.
lot of shitty movies? Of course, but you know, that's the gambit. I'm the same way with my music. Like I will listen to an album if the album cover is cool. You know? Like I'm very simple in how I approach art in that sense. But yeah,
Yeah,
anyway, The
I
Offer.
used
Yes.
I used to be more that way, and then the only reason I've converted is because my job is literally
Yes.
watching TV and film constantly, and I'm busy working and a family man now, so I
That's
don't
right.
have time. I need help weeding out things, and so I rely on the tomatoes at least for an initial feeling. Okay, so let's talk about this. Uh, it's a great show behind the scenes making of The Godfather. So all the Godfather fans, you gotta watch this. I was again. I had it on yesterday. I was riveted. I wanted to watch the whole season and call it a day. I was totally immersed. They catch the time period really well, Christopher.
Mhm.
I know it's a time period you love, late 60s into the early
Mhm.
70s. They
Oh,
do it
dude.
a great job.
The
The cast is
wardrobe
out of
on that
control.
show, Jesus Christ, we all look
Yeah, great
so good.
wardrobe. Giovanna Ribisi, Miles Teller, Colin Hanks, Juno Temple. I'm going to get into your connection with some of these later, amongst others.
Beautiful.
And so we'll get back. Lou Ferrigno. I mean, there's just a lot of
Oh,
great actors in
Lou!
this. Too. So before I get into my whole laundry list of questions, again, connection to this job. I know there's was it through Dexter that you got this gig? How did
Yeah,
this?
I
How did?
did. You know, I'm gonna brag a little bit.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was the first actor attached to this project. Before Miles, the guy who was gonna play Ruddy, the main character producer of The Godfather, was originally supposed to be Army Hammer. But then all that nom nom
Mm.
stuff came out, so that didn't happen.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
before anybody, before any main character, before any famous person, Dexter Fletcher said, "I want Jake Cannavale to play Caesar." And I had met him maybe once because he knew Dad and Rose and Tate.
Right.
But we had
Yeah.
never worked together, and I forget what it was that he like saw me in, but he knew he wanted an up and coming dude to play this very particular part. Which it was honor. I'm fucking honored and humbled, and you know I love Dexter's work. Um, and I love the attention to detail because, like, even if it hadn't gone to me, the fact that Dexter is the kind of director that even a character that is, one could argue, not as important, or you know, he not he's he,
A, a
it's a
s-
more minor role. You know what I mean? Um, But
Right.
even
Sure. Sure.
he had the fucking mind though. He had a fucking hard dick about it. And he was like, "This is what the fuck I want. This is who's gonna do it well. This is what's gonna make the art better." Um. So yeah, it was.
And it was an important role though too, Jake, because you do come in and you're the muscle from the Columbo family. So
Thank you.
it's a smaller
Yes.
role, yes, but there was importance to it. So, okay, your character's name is Caesar. You're part of the Columbo family. So for people who know like the mafia, there was like that, what is it, seven families,
Yeah.
and the guy playing
Number
Giovanni
5.
Ribisi just
Yeah.
took a seat, which is very cool. He's the new head of the Columbo family, and
Yeah.
you're muscle in his organization. So this is what I also again struck me here, and it's kind of a similar theme today. They bring you again because you have this again very likable, friendly, confident style, which we've mentioned multiple times here, right?
Thank you.
Obviously, in this role, you're much more dangerous than
Hell yeah.
normal, especially in that scene. And I need to rewatch it again, but I remember there's a scene late in this show where you're literally like pulverizing someone. You're finally like, oh
Yeah, that
shit,
was
he's
so
not just
fucking
this nice
fun.
guy. And then I can't remember if it's Juno Temple or someone comes by and it's like, hey, look away. I got to just kind of
Yeah.
deal with this really quickly. But you're still, and then what kind of struck me here was they didn't force you to be that normal, menacing, super evil gangster with like a
No,
scar.
dude.
They let you
Yes.
kind of be more of like a normal, friendly guy who just
See,
also have, and what I thought, and hold on, let me just finish this and I want to get
please.
your
Yeah.
take. They maybe it was actually almost a smart move because in gangster movies you don't think, oh, just that, that you can be a kind of a normal guy that just also happens to be working for the mob, right? So was
Yep.
that actually a directorial push to you to say, hey, still be nicer and likable, but then also with just this evil dangerous side, or just that was more just the
There
Jake
wasn't
spin on it?
there wasn't really. I mean, the writers I think always planned for that, but I think, one of the reasons why I think Caesar is such a beautiful part was that he is very well-rounded, you know? I got to do all the things that I could hope to do as an actor with a part. I got to dress sexy, I got to be funny, and I got to be a fucking badass. I got to fuck people up. Which, like, you rarely get all three of those in one thing unless you're fucking, Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling. Um, but like
Right.
it was, I knew because again, like I was told from the get go that Caesar was a mobster, and I sort of, if anything, the directorial choice was to humanize him because I don't really start
Agreed.
doing anything until like the fourth episode, if I'm not mistaken, and then you sort of get into Caesar's shit. But the first, to shed some light, the first directorial choice that Dexter made for Caesar that very much helped humanize him was it was a decision he had that I absolutely loved, where he wanted Caesar to be in the background of every mom scene and eating as much as possible. Which, I mean, you
Yeah.
watch a character in TV or movies eat, you automatically like feel at ease. It's a weird psychological thing. But
Mm.
it's dope. Again, bragging. I have a fucking great reputation for being an amazing on-camera eater, and I definitely loved letting that side of my
Mm.
personality shine. Oh my god, I fucking ate like a king on that show. Jesus Christ.
Well, but you
Yeah.
bring up a good point because they did humanize you. You weren't. It wasn't that standard evil like like super bad guy gangster role. And so you
No.
could be like you were friends with, and so I'm going to get into like your connection with some of the other characters, right? Before we do that, though, let's just and so I'm an East Coast guy too, so I like to do the
Yes, sir.
fucking Jersey guy voice. I want to hear live. I'm not bad at it too. You know what I mean? They should have fucking cast me, maybe. Listen. So
There you
what
go.
I want, give me an official Jake Cannavale badass gangster voice real quick, not to put you on the spot.
What the? I don't got a fucking gangster voice. I'm from the fucking Upper West Side. I don't be doing shit. I'm fucking soft as baby shit. I don't know.
Come on, bro. Yeah. No, that's
Come
how.
on, dude.
Thanks, man.
Put me on the spot,
Yeah.
man.
Fuck. No, I know. Come on, bro. Listen. No,
There
anyway,
you go.
I loved you from there. So, okay. Speaking of that, you and Bobby going back to this whole voice, and you're just both so authentic New York, I gotta say, right? So you're perfect for these roles. So I'm just gonna I'm calling all casting agents. let's get Jake in every gangster movie. I mean, like, this is serious, bro. I mean,
Fuck it, I
you know
won't
what I
say
mean?
no.
So yeah, I mean, it just I think you got the look, you got the accent, you got the style. Now, let's talk about the duo with Lou Ferrigno.
Oh
Okay, so
God, I love Lou.
for people that don't know, the younger audience that don't know Lou Ferrigno, he was a very famous bodybuilder. If people haven't seen Pumping Iron, it's one of the greatest docs of all time, in
Ever,
my opinion,
ever,
with
so
Arnold and
good.
Lou. It's so good, and you get to see more Arnold, but some Lou, and then of course Lou was the Hulk, which was his big claim to fame. And then
Yes.
you were kind of in this duo with him.
Mhm.
As what was that like, Lou, working with Lou?
Oh, he's the best, man. I remember he was just such a fucking like he just loved people. He loved being on set, which to me is, as important as getting your lines right and being a good actor. Is you've just got to be cool with humans. Um, he was sweet, man. He was a fucking teddy bear. Like I remember we celebrated. We were on set for his 70th birthday, and we surprised him, and we got a cake, and it was sick. And Lou, he's the best man because he loves conversing about anything. You can talk about the acting process. I got some workout advice from him. He'll talk about anything. He was very much a teddy bear in that sense. He loved improvising. He was just cool. He's just a cool ass dude.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and he was
awesome.
stoked. He was so excited to be there every day. Which again, like hell yeah, love your job.
And then so also I want to talk about Juno Temple, because if I need to again, I need to rewatch some of the episodes, but from
Oh,
what I remember, you
love
guys
Juno.
had that cool connection on the show.
Yeah,
Because
we
then
had a
you
little
kind of
will they,
like
won't
you
they.
hung around. Yeah, you hung around almost like protecting her a little bit too, because she was kind of, there was a lot of heat and the issues
Mhm.
with the mob, and there was kind of danger going around with during the production. And I remember you guys kind of got buddied, and then there was like when you're all watching the movie near the end. So she's just awesome. And that's, I gotta say, of course, she's blown up from Ted
So
Lasso
fucking
and all this
good.
stuff, but was working with her amazing too, because she
Hell
seems to be
yeah,
like a
dude.
rising
Juno
megastar.
Juno is my big sister. Like that's my family. So I am the first time I met Juno, we worked together on the pilot of Vinyl, which was a HBO show that my dad was on, that Scorsese
Of
directed. It was
course,
on
of
for one
course.
season, fucking
Yeah.
legendary. But I was a PA on that set. And me and Juno, that's when I met her, and we just sort of became confidants. Like we were very, very close. We were just homies. And so I remember when I found out that Juno was gonna be in the offer, I was stoked. I was like, "Oh my god, I can finally work with my sister, like, on an artistic level, like we're
Wow.
finally gonna be in the ring together." Yeah, she's awesome. She's the fucking best. I remember there was one day in particular. So she had wrapped for the day, and I still had one scene, and it was a big shooting scene. There was like a fuck ton of guns and a car chase, and I was a little nervous. It was like the same week that the Alec Baldwin shit went down on the Rust set.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh,
there was
geez.
tensions were high. And I've never acted with firearms before. Mando, I had a fucking pew pew little laser gun. That was a complete prop, but I was using a real shotgun from the 70s. Um, and I wasn't nervous, so to speak, but no, that's a lie. I was totally nervous. I was a little rattled with all the Alec Baldwin shit, and also like with the insane amount of responsibility. Like there was every now and then in my career, there are moments where I just get hit hard with the fucking imposter syndrome, and I'm like, I'm a fucking fraud. Everybody
Mm,
like is rolling their eyes when they turn their backs to me. Like I'm a fucking joke. I can't do this, and that hit on the same night that I had to do this shooting scene. And I remember I confided in Juno about it because I went to her for any anxieties I had acting wise on that show, and she, in beautiful open soul Juno fashion, she tranquilized my anxieties and was like, "I'll stay with you." And I'm like, "You raps?" And she's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna stay until you shoot this scene." I was like, "Dope." So
wow.
yeah, she was in Video Village watching me and knowing that she was there, that she had stayed, and that I had this amazing, not just a friend, but also this amazing actor watching me, who I knew, was looking out for me, didn't it actually, like, it massaged the pressure. It didn't add anxiety, you know? Um
That's awesome.
yeah, and she was after
So
every take, she came up to me and was like, telling me that the shit was dope, or like what I could do different, or how everybody's reacting. Like she was great. Working with Juno was awesome. I couldn't have asked for a better sibling to have on this very high profile job that I did at a very fluctuating point in my career. I love that
yeah,
woman dearly.
no, that's great. And so last couple questions on the offer, and I want to get to because I know I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but we got
You're
to get to the
good.
last couple topics that are
You're
very
good.
important to the story today. So let's just talk about Dexter briefly. Now, I know he only
Hell yeah.
technically, I think, directed the first couple, and I know you weren't in the first couple as much, and you weren't in it, but I think his tone and he had definitely had like, his direction throughout was still a made part of the
Mhm.
show. So, what again? How was working with Dexter? Because he's also
Dude,
a family friend.
working with Dexter is the absolute fucking best. My favorite directing style so far, I mean, I've been doing this for a minute, but I also have not seen it all yet. But like, he's so fucking playful. Like this dude, I
Mm,
felt like when Dexter is directing, the set is his chocolate factory and he's fucking Willy Wonka. Like Homeboy is just fucking he just loves to play, you know? There was never a moment when I was working with him that he said, "We're gonna do this, or we'll do that, or you should do this." It was always, "What if we did this?" Or "How cool would it be if we did this?" Or "Wait, you know what could be funny? What if?" And like he reaches actors on a childlike level, which is, I mean, as an absolute compliment. I mean, the goal, I don't have much formal education on the shit, but like with Meisner training, which is like one of the most widely accepted forms of acting training, they say the goal of an actor is to react the way a child would, meaning before society conditions you, like to just react from that raw primal human place. And Dexter was so good at tapping into that with actors. um he made me
wow.
laugh my ass off at shit that wasn't even supposed to be funny. Like it felt like I was hanging out with a friend, which is that's a luxury that doesn't come around often enough in this business, and I wish it did more. But like, it,
Yeah,
at
that's
its
amazing.
core, acting should feel like you're hanging out with a friend.
Well, yeah, and that's what we talked about with Tate on the last episode, what you're doing as a director. And if you're just putting the actors at ease, that's probably a big part of the job and not the
It's
stressful
huge.
set. So I love to hear that. And I'm gonna, of course, when I meet with him myself, I'm gonna unpack all his tips and tricks. So okay, of course I probably know the answer. Obviously, this was, even though it was a period piece, it had to have been shot at Paramount, right? To
Oh
have
yeah,
that look.
of
And
course.
so
Yeah, we
just
were on that lot.
R right, and so the funniest thing, just for the listeners, is and I don't think you know this, but at one point, I was the assistant to the casting director at Paramount only for, like, a 5-month thing, but this is way back,
Damn.
this is, like,
Okay. All right.
2005. So I was on the lot too,
Hell
and it
yeah.
of course, just, like, I was one of those guys, driving the executives around in the go-karts,
Oh hell
or the
yeah,
little
dude! I
golf
love
carts,
those.
those
Those are
little
so
carts
fucking
that you go
fun.
around, yeah. It was honestly a terrible job, but I just, so at least I was there. So, okay, last point too is this also is the summer that we kicked it, right? So
Hell
for the
yeah, dude.
listener,
Dude, I was
Jake and I
living
are
with you,
buddies.
bro.
Yeah, right. So you stayed at Tate's house, right? There's the family connection for a couple weeks, right?
That's
And it was
right.
right at the beginning. Filming hadn't even started; was about to start filming. So for me, it
Hmm.
was, you're an awesome guy, love you, man, and I so appreciate you doing this. Now, it was so cool later then
Hmm.
getting to watch it all,
Hell
after being
yeah.
actually knowing you and whatnot. And I was so pumped about it because I just think it's a spectacular show. Don't
Oh,
listen to
thank
the
you, man.
tomatoes. Everybody
Fuck the
should, especially
tomatoes.
Godfather fans, because I love, for me, it's so riveting when something iconic is made, but how people didn't know it was good. Like
Yeah,
before, it
man. I
almost got
mean,
scrapped. It could have been
the
like
s-
not picked up.
for real. Like you
Yeah,
know something is epic if there's a show about the story of how it happened. You know?
Totally. So it's great. It's
Yeah.
a great ride. Okay, so now
True.
let's just talk about the presents, because I want to give you a plug on your next big thing.
Hit me. Yeah.
So let's talk American Sports Story.
Hell
Okay,
yes.
that's gonna come out on FX, which is an approved network of the Wally Report, in
Excellent.
September. I should have had the exact date. Do you have the exact date? I should have had that on
September
my notes.
17th, I
On
believe.
Oh, see, there's my boy. Okay, I knew you'd have it. So, Ryan Murphy, let's go back to this. He's the exec producer on this. For people
Correct.
that don't know him, he did Nip Tuck, which is great, Christopher. Because remember when we did our first episode, I said Nip Tuck was the show that turned me around to television, made me, and so it's funny. He's also attached to Glee, American Horror Story, a lot of big things. So if he's around this, it's got to be a great show. For people that don't know the Aaron Hernandez story, it's fucking insane. He was obviously a tight end on the New England Patriots, a lot of issues, and then a murder occurs, right? I don't want to give too much away, but everybody knows the real story. There was a doc on this on Netflix from 2020 called The Killer Inside, which I highly recommend. Of course, I know everything about it because you know I'm a sports junkie, Jake. For you,
Damn
it's
right.
actually probably kind of fun because you actually don't know like the real story, so it's actually all
Very
new to
true.
you, right? So now let's just discuss again, how do you land the role and like sort of your character and how excited, how big is this? How excited are you for this whole project?
Oh, dude, I'm so stoked. I did a self tape for it. I remember I shot at my sister Caroline's house. She's my one of my go to self tape helpers. And then yeah, I got it and I was really excited. I off the bat, I was in a world that I knew nothing about, which was the whole sports thing. I was playing a sports guy, and on top of that, this is my first written openly gay part. So I was just stoked to do new shit, you know?
Yeah.
Um it
Well,
was it
he's a
was
real, I don't know if you know the story that well, but he's a very pivotal part because they claim, and in the doc, that that was sort of because of Aaron Hernandez's sort of closeted gay relationship with this character. It was
yeah.
another one to mentally hit just so that he was
Yeah,
more
I mean,
angry
this
and
dude
crazy.
had
I mean,
so
and
much
we,
shit. Yeah, he the CTE, he was abused by his father. And yeah, and, he was that definitely contributed to him, being in the closet, and that repressed shit was just clearly a factor. I don't want to pretend I'm a psychologist or a sports guy, but yeah, I mean, the story is insane. This dude just he had hell in his fucking mind. And yeah,
right.
yeah, I don't gotta
So
say
for
nothing.
people that again don't know the story, he was very violent for many years. He was almost arrested a bunch of different times early on when he was still in college. I believe he went to Florida, and
Yeah,
then he went to the Patriots. And Belichick thought he could deal with them, and then he still was. I of course he produced really well for many seasons. And then all of a sudden this murder happened, and then of course I don't want to. I'm not even going to bring up the ending for people that maybe don't know the
yeah.
story and want to watch the show. But super pumped. Everybody tune in. It was September 17th, did you say? On FX. This
Yeah.
should be a big deal. The story is so insane, I'm sure, because Ryan Murphy. And so last question on Ryan Murphy. What was his impact on the show? Like how much was he
To
I
be
know he was
honest,
just the exec producer on this, or
I've never met him. I don't know if he was even on set a lot. My shooting days were pretty spread out. So I definitely missed quite a bit. But yeah, no, he was talked about, but I never saw him. I never met the dude.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we're pumped on that. Everybody tune in. The
Ugh.
final piece before we let you go here is we didn't even get to the band yet, and you did allude to it early. So
Oh, let's
let's
go.
segue. And this is great too, because a lot of people, when they first came to the Wally Report, I claimed it's gonna be about television, film, music, and sports. And most of it's been definitely highly dictated on our television watching. Okay. But now we get to talk music. Okay. So
Hell yeah.
really quickly, I know we talked about this when we were having our bromance 3 years ago. We were jamming out to Limp Bizkit and all this stuff and had a few
Hell yeah.
drinks. Now, I need to ask though for the audience, because so like again, I need to know the metal background. How old were you when you first were like, I like rock music, Dad? Because New York, you think it's
Mhm.
like a hip hop city. Yes, there's great rock and roll history too, but you think
Yeah.
in the newer generations, there's a lot of hip hop people. So
Yeah, I mean,
how are you
New
like,
York is the
no,
birthplace of
uh,
hip hop. But yeah, I got
right.
into
So
it
how,
when I was like 10 years old, 10 or 11, I want to say, is when I started getting into it. It was with System of a Down, which for a lot of,
Mm,
kids in my generation, that was sort of the entry band for heavy music. And then, which I'm very grateful for, because I don't know if y'all are big System fans, but like they're such an oddball. They can never be replicated. There will never be another band like them. They're they're an
I haven't
Armenian
blasted yet.
they're an Armenian metal band, and their rhythms, their songwriting are very particular. They're Armenian song structures, and because their songs are so diverse, each song pretty much like led down a different path for me musically. You know, like they like definitely I don't think I could have started off with grindcore, which is the music that I make now, if I hadn't started with System. You know.
And so that's where you segue me. We've been so aligned today here, Jake. You're going right to my next questions now.
Excellent.
So I want to. I'm sure Limp Bizkit was probably there a little bit. I'm sure like
Believe it or
any
not,
of those other early
I didn't get into Limp
Bizkit till
Bizkit until
later.
way later, dude, because I was not a new metal
Okay.
fan until I had time to sit with all the other shit, and then I could go back and appreciate the flavor. Um,
Okay.
I'm
So got it.
I'm
So right.
I'm a huge so I support new metal though. I'm not a hater. I love new metal.
So yeah, so I was gonna kind of joke and say, okay, these were the gateway drugs for you, right? To get to the and because I want to know how you transition to the darker side. Because when you
So
get because I want you because grindcore is obviously gnarly darker, right?
hell, very
It's
much
take
so.
it's so I want to know describe for the audience, because so you let's maybe you go from a Disturbed, Limp Bizkit,
Yeah, a little.
System kind of
I
stuff,
love
and then you're
that
like,
term,
you know what,
gnarly darker.
that's not that's not hard enough for me. I need to graduate to the dark side. Okay.
Hell
Seeing
yes.
I'm throwing the Star Wars back here. So
Throw it
I
in.
want to know how do you now transition to the grindcore dark side and then
You
tell the
know,
audience what is grindcore all about and what is the scene like?
I'll say so after System, the first wave of metal bands that hooked me were Slipknot, Slayer, Mastodon, Cannibal Corpse, um,
Yeah.
which is the first death metal band, extreme metal band I really got into. And then probably like right after I started listening to Pig Destroyer. Because
Yeah.
which is legendary grindcore band. Grindcore basically started in the late 80s. And to put it simply, it's basically a faster, more obnoxious version of death metal. It's like death metal's hyperactive ADD ass kid brother who doesn't take his meds. Um, but I
Got it.
remember when I was early in high school, I was hanging out a lot at Generation Records, which, if those of you don't know, legendary record shop, record store in New York, in downtown in Soho, by my high school, and it has everything there, but it has a focus in hardcore and metal, and they usually had grindcore playing like on their speakers, like especially in the downstairs area where they kept their 45s and their cassettes and their like bootleg merch and patches and shit. Um, they would always have grindcore playing, and I remember when I heard it, think, I mean, I couldn't tell you what band it was, but I remember thinking like, "Oh, this is the rock bottom." Simultaneously the rock bottom and the glass ceiling, so to speak. Like, this is where all metal eventually devolves slash evolves to. This is its rawest form. And it felt good. It felt good to know that the search was over, so to speak. And I didn't even really know I had been looking for the most fucked up shit, but I was.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so
So
then
your
high
band is obvious. Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, keep going. Please, please, please.
No, I was gonna say, so your band, just so the listener knows, is called Vixen Maw. Okay,
Yes.
right. And I still need the T-shirt. We'll talk. I need that, but I need a medium. But I need that soft
Got you.
fabric.
Hell yeah, I
It
got you,
can't be
bro.
rough. It can't be
No,
rough.
no,
No.
no.
So So they're called Vixen Maw, right? And are you guys actually like play shows? Like, and
We
what part of
have
New York do you
we've
actually
played
do this?
3 out of 4 of us are born and raised New Yorkers. We have been a band for 7 years now, maybe 8. Fuck. And in those 8 years, we have played 4 shows. Um, we are,
Okay, got it,
however,
got it.
I do not. Let me make one thing fucking clear. Do not get it twisted. We are not a hobby or like a part-time thing. We are always active. We are always in motion. We are always working on shit. We just don't play that much. And we have, we're 4 grown men who all have careers outside of this band, even though this is all the fuck we want to be doing. Um, but yeah, it started. I, I'm the lead singer, creative director, dictator of this band. Um, and it just started with I had a band name, and I said I wanted to be in a grindcore band called Vixen Maw. And so I tracked down the members of my pirate crew, so to speak. And the first guy I went to, his name's Morgan Miller. He's my guitarist, and I knew him from back in the day. We were in a melodic death metal band together when we were 12 years old called Helephants. Um, and then we accidentally went to college together. I went to college for 1 year, and I ran into Morgan there, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I haven't seen you in fucking years." And we kind of on weekends would just hole ourselves in his dorm with whiskey and just like record music. And then after college, I found him again in Brooklyn when I was living in Inwood, and we did the same shit. It was like a 2-hour commute to get to him, and we would stay up until 5, 6, 7 in the morning, just getting fucked up, eating deli sandwiches, chain smoking, and just recording music with a shitty drum machine, a laptop, and his amazing god tier guitar playing. And eventually that evolved and we released an entire demo. We had like 10, 15 songs of just me, him, and drums. And then we eventually recorded a drummer, and then we recorded our noise guy, Reckless, who's the secret sauce. Um, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I could talk
awesome.
about Vixen Maw forever. So just ask away.
Yeah,
Ask
well,
and you
so I
shall
mean, I just
receive.
wanted to yeah, no, I just wanted to know that. The last thing I'll say, and I know I don't want to keep you too long here.
You're
So,
good. You're good.
the last thing I'll say is I know, didn't you say you're recording vocals recently? So is that just for like a
Yes.
fresh album so
So
people
yeah,
can catch you on Spotify,
we're
right?
doing our
And
first full length LP right now. We've done a bunch of demos, singles. We have a 4-way split out with a couple other bands, and this is our first. This is our definitive statement. I'm absolutely proud of the music we've put out, but it doesn't it doesn't reflect where we are, so to speak. This album very much does. It is. I have one more song to record vocals for, and then we can send it off to my brother Josh, who's gonna mix the whole thing. But it's like 99% recorded. Um, I was listening to the demos yesterday, raw, and it is so fucking good. It is so goddamn incredible. It's the best album of the 21st century. Like anyone else who is currently making music should just fucking quit and retire because there's no need. Like this album is so fucking perfect and no one's ready for it and I don't fucking care. They're going to take it anyway.
so
It's
Ma's
great.
coming out heavy. Ma's
The
about to
Maw
take
is
over.
coming is about to fuck everybody's shit up. I couldn't be prouder. This
Yeah.
is of any medium. I don't think I've ever been this proud of an artistic achievement. I'm beyond
Wow.
excited to share it with y'all.
So last couple series of questions, and then we'll let you go, and we'll do our top five.
Hit
Is
me.
okay. If you have your next dream gig, right?
Mhm.
Whether
Yep.
it's a hit movie, a big show, a new play, or Ma blowing up, what's your which avenue do you want to go? That would be like your dream scenario, or just all of the above.
Definitely.
But you
I
got to
mean,
pick one.
definitely all the above. But if I had to pick, I would go with the Maw because I love acting. I very much do. But it does not offer the same amount of freedom that my band does. And the level of freedom that my band offers is simply unparalleled. It is absolute freedom. There is no one leaning over my shoulder telling me how to make more accessible radio friendly grindcore. You know, it is
Right,
very much
right.
artist driven culture. So like, because it's the bottom of the fucking barrel, you're free to do whatever the fuck you want, you know? So yeah,
Yeah, I got it.
I would love for to, do a tour. I would love to go fucking play Japan. I would love to go at fucking places in the world that aren't go-to destination spots. I know a lot of metal bands have been going to Malaysia lately. I'd love to check that out. I'd love to bring contemporary bands of our genre on the fucking road with us. I'd love to start building those bridges. Um yeah, and after this album
Nice.
drops, it's something we can definitely talk about.
Okay, so last question. We know
Hit me.
you're a New York guy. We've talked about this. You've lived in the city. We know you're in Brooklyn now. Now, I know we joke about this, but what would it take for someone to force you to permanently move to LA?
You know,
Like would
man,
it have to be 30 million in cash? What's going to take you to leave?
to be
There's got
honest,
to be, everybody has a price.
I love Los Angeles. I would move out here if I was, here's what I say. I think New York is what I've grown up with, and it's better for the grind. I would rather be grinding and figuring my shit out and being hungry in my hometown. But LA, when I get comfortable, I'll move out here. That's the best way I can put it. Like, New York is better for grinding, in my opinion, and LA is better for when you've made it, you know? So once I'm a little comfortable,
Right.
down the line, maybe, I got a little bit of money I can sit on. I maybe got, fucking I'm doing the family shit. Like once all that shit sort of comes into focus, I'd absolutely move out here. I think this is a beautiful town. I really do. I'm not one of those New Yorkers that like hates on LA. Um,
No, I know.
you know,
I like,
yeah.
I like to argue about these silly
Of
things. So I just
course.
wanted to throw it out there and try to bribe you to, because I also want you out here because we're boys. So,
Damn right.
all right. Thank you, man. I know we've taken up a lot of your time. Like
No,
Christopher
dude,
and I
this
can
was an
talk. Yeah.
absolute pleasure, man. This is I love talking to you
Okay.
guys. This is dope.
Awesome. So thanks again for doing this. You're the man. And everybody remember to look out for American Sports Story in a couple months,
Hell
starring
yeah.
this young upcoming, I mean, pretty soon we're gonna have the best interview like right before you blew up and the whole world's wondering what's up with Jake.
Damn
So
right.
thanks, buddy. You can sign off. I think you
Oh
just hit
man.
leave on the old
Perfect.
portal. We
Thank you both,
appreciate everything.
gentlemen.
You're the man.
This
Yeah.
was
You
awesome. Thank
Jake,
you
it's
appreciate
been
you.
a
guys.
I'll
pleasure.
hit you
Thank you.
later. Thanks, buddy. All right, Christopher. What a lot of insightful actions here today, right? I know you haven't really got to chime in a lot, but don't worry, we're gonna have some serious divine interjections coming up. That was pretty awesome getting the behind the scenes. I love the Star Wars stuff. I love the Godfather stuff. Just really learning, hopefully the and what a guy, what a funny dude. We're gonna have a lot of happy listeners.
Oh, I
So
think so. I think so. It was rife with anecdotes, super interesting stuff about the Mandalorian. Hope that he doesn't get in trouble for revealing the man behind the suit. But even if he does, it's comforting to know that an actor is willing to put his career and his life on the line for the listeners of the Wally Report. I mean, come on.
totally.
What more
Yeah,
could
this
you
is
ask
like
for?
yeah, it's Barbara Walters and then the Wally Report,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
the hard
Exactly.
hitting questions. I did
Yeah.
also, and I'm kind of bummed. I wish I should have gone more into the. I love the Favreau story, and then the. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, and then the Baby Yoda stuff. Okay, so let's go just for timing, right? So we're gonna go straight to the top five. Is that what we're saying now, Christopher?
Yeah.
Okay. One little just quick interjection before the top five. I just want to say to the listeners, I watched The Last of Us. I blew it on my top 23. It is a marvelous show. If you can get the reason I didn't watch it is because I'm not a zombie guy. I'm not an end of the world guy. I was and so I didn't watch it, but Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are amazing. The storytelling, the cinematography, so if anybody that the season 2 will be 2025. So let's go straight to the top five then, brother, if that's where we're going to. Okay. There's not honestly from last month, there hasn't been a lot of shocking change. A little bit of adjustments on the percentages. Okay, so coming in at number 5, The Boys season 4 from Prime Video. It was on the top 5 last month, but it slipped. Here's the thing. And so tomato meter 93%, but they're inflating it. The audience score is only 53%. Now, I don't think it's that bad, but the Wally Report is just barely reluctantly giving it a 70. Just because I love Anthony Starr, I love Carl Urban, they're amazing actors, and I do love the other seasons. So I think I'm holding on for dear life, thinking that they're going to correct this sort of sinking ship a little bit. I feel like the writing's just not the same. It's just getting too gory and kind of disgusting for just no reason. For people that don't know, again, this is a satire about superheroes where they're more evil, which I love because it's you always have the superhero kind of or the villain, and these guys are kind of all these just in betweens, and they're all kind of pricks, right? And they're not really there to help society, and they have all these powers. So it's still a great watch. I just don't know um, if season 4, it's still going on, so I still, next month we'll probably get to the finale of season 4. Christopher, I don't really think The Boys is a show for you because I don't think you're a superhero fella, right? And I do feel that it's just a little too, you sometimes feel like you're watching like a horror movie because it's so gory. It's just not, the creators are a bit demented, so I don't even think you have anything to say on here.
There's one
Except
exception to that. You're right about not being a superhero fella, but there is one exception to that, and that is Batman. And we'll talk about that some other time. I think we need to maybe even do an entire episode on Batman. But that's my sole exception for superhero movies.
And you're just talking about original Batmans, any Batmans?
Well, right. So that's what we need to talk about, Ari.
Okay,
so
I got you. I see. Yeah.
We'll
save
there's much
that.
to unpack.
Right. So, okay, we go to number 4. This is the one new show on my list. Hard Knocks offseason with the New York Giants. Okay, now I know you're not a sports guy, but Hard Knocks has been a big HBO show for seasons, and I've actually been neglecting it. Tate actually was shocked on the last episode because I did not come correct with the Hard Knocks, okay? And because this one's about the Giants, I finally watched it, and I was pretty surprised, okay? I was happy about this. Now, there's no Rotten Tomato score, shockingly, which is weird. So I'm going to give it a 72 right now. I looked it up. There's not been enough. There's nothing on the tomato meter. I don't get how that's possible. But it's 72% on the Wally Report right now. So a little bit above The Boys. Not amazing, but pretty, I think what I wrote here is it's pretty riveting for sport fans because it follows what the GMs and what the teams are doing in the offseason and all the intelligent moves that they're kind of making based on budget. It's really suspenseful. It's captivating. For me, it's devastating and captivating at the same time because it's watching what the Giants have just done. Of course, we got rid of our star running back in the offseason. We haven't been performing. We're sticking with our old quarterback. So I'm pretty devastated. But it's pretty well done. I definitely throw it on your list if you love behind the scenes sports docs. Okay.
Now, I do want to say, because I'm not a big football guy. New York Giants, Super Bowl 25, Phil Simms. I watched every minute.
Wow.
How's that for a throwback?
Are you trying to get on my good side here?
And I used to have, you remember the starting lineup figurines? Remember starting lineup? Yeah, the figurines, the sports figurines.
Little football, sports figures, sure.
I had a Phil Simms starting lineup figurine in my room.
That's so clean. So you realize that, I still to this day, I'm a Sims guy because I grew up in that generation. He early 87 from the 86 season, we won the Super Bowl. And then again, we won in 91, although he had been injured at that point. But I grew up, Phil Simms was my top guy. I still rank him above Eli. He's my number one quarterback, Giants quarterback of all time. So that's clean that you said that. Great guy. Okay, so now we're going to segue. Show number 3. This is where it gets very interesting, okay? House of Dragon, which I have publicly denounced many times, and I didn't want to watch it. It's not Thrones. It's finally moved up, but that's also because the scarcity of other shows. Let's be real about this. So House of Dragon season 2 live, it's still going on HBO Max or just Max. 80% tomato, 89% tomato meter, 85% audience score. Okay. I recently looked into what is the audience score, just in case you're wondering, Christopher. So you can sign up as a user on Rotten Tomatoes, which I have now done. And then you go to the title and then you can put your rating. So they collect these ratings. And so I like that because it's more real to what the people watching are actually thinking and not just your all the critics. So I'm giving it a 73. It was like a 65 on the last one. It's gone up. It's still not amazing. It's not certified hot. Let's get this very straight. But the last episodes, I gotta say, were unbelievable battle scenes. The cinematography, the editing, the acting's all pretty good. And you're in Westeros. So I know you're not a Thrones fellow, right? Sadly,
No.
you're just a Wars. You're not a Thrones. That's a shame. You got to be both. But that's as much as positivity if I can give it. I still would never put this on like a top 10 list for the year. It's getting way too high of scores, but they're rallying. They're rallying. Okay, it's still a Thrones B version. Okay, this is getting very hot tamale now. Presumed Innocent still in its number 2 spot. Okay, and this is what we talked about last month. We were going to say was this going to change at all? Apple TV Plus, 78% tomato meter, 79 audience score. It's getting a 74 Wally Report score. Why it's that 74? It's because it's not certified hot. I gotta keep it under. And for the audience that don't remember, the threshold to be certified hot is 75 and up. I can't give this. I can't, but it's still good enough right now in current time to be my number 2 show. Jake Gyllenhaal, Peter Sarsgaard, Bill Camp, all amazing performances, especially Bill Camp and Jake Gyllenhaal, especially as he's marvelous in this. He's kept the show afloat. Now, the first 2 episodes were amazing. It dips for a little bit, and then it kind of comes back, not as strong as those first 2, but it has a pretty decent ending. I got to say, Jake has saved the show. The writing to me is a little bit over the top. The twists and turns are almost too mainstream. They're just a little bit not believable. So you're supposed to be shocked at the end. I'm not going to give anything away for the people who haven't seen it. I just don't think the writing is that clever and that sharp, and it doesn't always make sense. It's kind of like, I feel like it's really just trying to get a mainstream audience that doesn't know super high level stuff, but it's still pretty good. It's a fun ride. The ending is pretty decent, and they've signed on for a series 2. Okay, this show needs to start breaking the announcements. I don't think I don't you know I don't I know there's not much comments from you, Christopher, because I don't really think these are any of these right now are shows for you. I gotta say, because I know your style. Um,
It's okay.
so
Not
yeah,
every show is for everyone, and that's what,
right, right. But a lot of people will like this. I did get my brother and his girlfriend into this, and they're watching all the sods happily. So we've come to the number 1 show, and I think a lot of people know what it's going to be once again because we're bear biased at the Wally Report. Now here's the one thing I will say. Technically, the whole season was launched in June. So is it fair to still have The Bear to be number 1 show of July? I'll tell you why, because not everybody's going to binge everything in one day, and it was launched in the last couple days of June. Therefore, you got to just let it lag a little bit into July, and I think we're being fair here. So, for people that don't know, it's a masterful show about a restaurant in Chicago. That's all you need to know. It's very real, it's very raw. The acting's amazing. However, season 3, it's let's just throw it out there. It's not a great season. It's good, but it's not Bear quality. Okay, so I'll tell you what Rotten Tomatoes 89%. Here's the crazy thing, just to just show you that I have some backing on that claim, Christopher. The audience score for season 3 is a dismal 53%. The people are pissed, but I think they're being a little bit overboard. I'm giving it a 77. So it's certified hot, but it's not in the 80s. This is not an 80% show right now. This is why. the last episode, see what happened for me is I was actually like going to be very torn between if it was even going to stay in my number one slot, because half of the chunk of the middle of season 3 was really not that impressive. But they do in standard Bear fashion. They ended amazingly well, and it was moving, and it was provocative, and I'm like, all right, okay, they did just enough. Thank God. I was actually thanking my lucky stars, like, oh, thank God that they ended well so that I could keep it as my number one show. Of course, Jeremy Allen White and your boy Eben Moss Backrack were both pretty spectacular. Not as great in the season because this is what I think happened. They hit such a high echelon that it was so hard to follow it up. And a lot of great shows have this problem by the time they get to 3, 4, 5, right? Not every show is a Breaking Bad that just can keep going. So, but it was just powerful enough. And I got it. It's still at my number one show. I don't even want to ask you, Christopher, how far you are, because I think I'm going to be disappointed in your show watching. But how far?
You're gonna be disappointed.
You're not even in season 2 right now. Is that what you're saying to the
No,
audience publicly?
that's what I'm saying. I'm publicly
Okay,
admitting that I have yet to get to
because
season 2, and I'm sorry for
because
the
you
disappointment.
that's fine. So because you gave it such high
Oh,
praise,
I'm just dragging it out. I don't want, especially because the episodes are so short. So
you gotta.
I've rewatched the first 4 episodes multiple times because I really just want, because I know I'm going to hit the end soon.
Yeah. So,
I
okay. Well, but so by the next episode of the Waller Report, I at least need you to be through season 2,
Okay,
just for
fine,
the
fine,
sake
fine.
of the show.
I can commit to that, but I will say I also don't endorse my watching habits. I have very, very bizarre sort of TV
Right.
watching habits that involve lots of repetition, and so I don't endorse that. However, if you're curious to know more, I'm happy to
Yeah.
talk you through the because there is a little bit of a method to the madness.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. I love that. Now, let's do the count, the medal count. It is the Olympics right now. So there was only one new show. It was HBO Max. So now through the year, 4 HBO Max shows, technically just Max, have been on our countdown. 3 Apple TV Plus, only 1 Netflix, 1 FX on Hulu, and 1 Prime. So we're gonna count this through the year, and that's gonna answer cousin Luke's question about what's the best service. We're providing that right here. And just so you know, Christopher and the viewer, you don't get the count every time. If it's the same show that's already been on the list, it's been counted. You can't double
Okay.
count it just because it's on my list again the next
Yep.
month.
Yep.
So only HBO went up because I introduced Hard Knocks as something new. Everything else was on the same top 5 list. Now, speaking of, so if we look at the July-August preview, okay, uh, the one thing for August is just going to be the continuation of all these shows because they're mostly still ongoing. So we're going to see, can they hold this top 5? Will new shows pop up to dethrone them? And the Bear, that's actually pretty much was the Bears' song and dance. Now in August, it cannot be on the top 5. So there's going to be a new king come August. Okay, I just want to recap a couple things. Cobra Kai obviously came out in July. I liked it, but there's been a real letdown of seasons, the last couple seasons, so it didn't make my top 5, but still I watch it because I'm a Karate Kid. Just like I'll watch anything Star Wars, even if it's kind of crap, you're going to keep watching. So we'll see if Kai can come back up. I haven't finished the season. The other thing that I haven't gotten to yet, because I've been busy, it came out 4 days ago, was a new Pete Rose baseball doc. You know, I'm a sports doc guy for the sports fans. It looks amazing. It's on HBO. I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you know the Pete Rose story, Christopher, but he has the most hits in baseball. He got in trouble for gambling, and they've never put him in the Hall of Fame. It's a sad story because he's one. I mean, to have the most hits in baseball and you're not immortalized, but the old saying is, you don't bet on baseball. You don't bet on baseball, kid. Okay. The upcoming shows that we might want to think about is Hard Knocks, The Bears. That's more for you, Christopher. Comes out on August 6th. Umbrella Academy season 4. I'm struggling getting through season 1. I don't care that much, but I know a lot of people like it. That's August 8th. And then the biggest one is Only Murders in the Building. Excuse me, season 4, August 27th. Now, I know we're short on time here, Christopher, but I don't think we can leave without you just quickly addressing Severance. I know we need to
So
get out of here, but
I,
I know
I,
you didn't get to talk a lot on this show, and I needed to get, and you don't need to go on a whole 20 minutes, but we all know Severance, the big announcement is Severance season 2 is coming out January 17th. And I know you're not pleased. Just give a quick Divine rant
yeah, it's
because the
coming out
Divines,
January 17th, 2025. That's not acceptable. It's not soon enough. The show is too good, and we've had to wait too long for season 2. And they've kept us in the dark about when season 2 would even be coming out. But there have been little teasers on Instagram that suggest that it was coming out sooner than that. And then finally, a couple weeks ago, they came out with the actual date. It said January 2025. What are they doing? I
yeah.
understand that there was the writer's strike and that delayed things, and fine. I respect that. But every other show has gotten back to business. What's going on with Severance? Why is it taking so long? And so what I want from Apple TV as a concession for having to wait so long is I want them to release 2 seasons back to back, season 2 and season 3 in January, and I want them to waive their subscription fee for the month of January. Okay? So people have, and it comes out the 17th. So people have the second half of the month to watch 2 seasons of Severance. And I want a commitment that 6 months later or less, season 4 will be released. Now, is any of that going to happen? Of course not. However, I think that that's really the only thing that Apple TV could do to make up for this just inexcusable time lapse between seasons. It's inexcusable.
So I love this because normally I'm the pissed one and you're the more calm one, except when you do get a couple things will ruffle your feathers. For me, since I got into it later, I'm fine. Like, yes, I would have wanted earlier, but I'm not as pissed, because now I know, hey, we're only 6 months away. Yeah, but I am surprised it's not like in August or it should have given us October. But so I'm with you, but
Exactly.
I'm just happy it's on. When we get a date, I'm fine. It was going to be great. So I think with that, Christopher, we've come to the outro. Do you have that ready
I
for the
do have it.
listeners?
I do have it ready. Thank you for listening to the Wally Report, the world's hottest podcast. Please subscribe, follow, like, comment, share, and blast. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube, and we're plowing the gram at The Wally Report. That's at The Wally Report. Now, I want to say Spotify has changed its comment feature a little bit. Please don't let the new interface deter you from commenting. We want your comments on Spotify. We want your comments on Instagram. We want your comments on YouTube. Comment. Talk to us. Let us know what you're thinking. You can also email us directly, info@wally.report. That's info@wally.report. There's no .com. .com is out. Please help spread the word, and thank you again for listening. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, sir. Let's get our famous theme song playing.